Hey yogis, welcome to another Yellow yoga class. My name is Kelly and I'll be your guide. Today's practice is part of our Strengthen and Lengthen series, where we'll work on both strength and flexibility for a full body workout and a deep stretch. Today's class in particular is designed to help us feel light and free. We'll start on the ground with some moderate stretches to start slow and get the blood flowing. Then we'll fire it up and work the arms and core before making our way to our feet for some balancing postures and revitalizing breath work. To close out the practice, we'll make our way back down to the mat for a well-deserved savasana. By the end of the practice, you'll feel light, balanced, and proud of yourself for showing up. Roll out your mat and let's get started. We'll start today's practice in a nice, wide-legged child's pose. So go ahead and make your way down to the mat. Spread your knees wide. Sink your hips back to your heels. And stretch your arms out toward the front of the mat. And with loving deep breaths, begin to settle into your practice today. As you settle in here, connecting with your breath, maybe take a minute or two to set an intention for your practice. Today's theme is lighten, so maybe your attention can be somehow related to helping you feel lighter and freer after your practice. Maybe it's to have a little fun on your mat today, keeping your attitude light and joyful if you fall out of a pose. Maybe your intention is to take full, deep, cleansing breaths throughout your practice, letting something go on each exhale. As you set your intention, we'll take 3 more deep breaths. When you're ready, make your way up to your hands and knees for tabletop position. And we'll take some cat-cow poses here in tabletop. On an inhale, drop the belly, shine the chest to the sky, gaze up. And exhale, round the spine, drop the chin to the chest. Inhale for cow, dropping the belly, shining the chest toward the sky. Exhale for cat, rounding the spine. Do a few more here on your own. And feel free to veer off the beaten path. Maybe knock your hips from side to side, adding whatever movement feels good here. When you're ready, come back to a neutral spine, and then walk your hands forward just a little bit and sink your chest toward the mat for puppy pose. Stretching the mid-back and the shoulders a bit, opening up the chest. You can rest your forehead on the mat here and maybe rock your head a little side to side. Give your third eye a gentle massage. And we'll take a couple more deep breaths here in puppy pose. Let's sink our hips to the mat now and slide our chest to the front of the mat for Sphinx pose, propping our weight up on our forearms. And we'll try to make this an active Sphinx pose here, really pushing through the forearms and pelvic bone to find some length, staying active through the back body. You should feel this in your legs, feel this in your glutes. You might start to feel a little burn in your shoulders as well. Take a second to check in with your shoulders and make sure they're dropped down and away from your ears, keeping your neck nice and long. And maybe stretch out the neck a little by looking over one shoulder and then the other. Release your Sphinx pose. Plant the palms on your mat under your shoulders. And we'll inhale for baby cobra, engaging the back muscles to lift the chest up off the mat. And exhale, release. Inhale again for baby cobra. And exhale, release. One more inhale, baby cobra. See if you can lift your palms off the mat for this one. And exhale, release, palms back down to the mat. Push yourself back up to your hands and knees. Spread your knees wide and sink your hips back to your heels for a wide-legged child's pose. And we'll take just 3 breaths here, just to stretch out the low back after our Sphinx pose and our cobra. Altogether, we'll take one final inhale here. And as you exhale, lift the hips and round the spine for cat pose with the knees still wide. And inhale to move forward toward upward facing dog at the front of your mat, allowing your hips to drop toward the mat and your heels to come toward your glutes. Exhale to round the spine and push all the way back to child's pose. Take one expansive inhale here in child's pose. And we'll repeat. Exhale, lift the hips, rounding the spine for cat pose with the knees still wide. And as you come to the front, inhale, sinking the hips toward the mat to find a variation of up dog, pulling your heels toward your glutes. Exhale, round the spine, pushing all the way back to child's pose. And continue this movement on your own for a couple of breaths. Feel free to modify your breathing patterns and movements in whatever way feels the most natural for your body. Wherever you are, go ahead and find a tabletop position with a neutral spine. Then walk your hands forward slightly and send the hips high and back for our first downward dog of the practice. Go ahead and find some movement. Pedal it out. Stretch out the backs of the legs. And all together, we'll inhale to lift the right leg to the sky for 3-legged dog, and exhale to step the leg to the outside of your right foot for lizard lunge. We'll stay here for just a couple of breaths to stretch out the hip flexor. Feel free to move around a bit or drop the back knee if it helps you get a deeper stretch. Lift the back knee if you lowered it. And on an exhale, send the right leg to meet the left for downward facing dog. Take one deep inhale breath here. And exhale, release. Inhale to lift the left leg to the sky this time for three-legged dog. And exhale to step the leg to the outside of your left foot. And once again, we'll stay here for a couple of breaths. Just stretching out the hip flexor. Make sure you're keeping length in your neck, keeping your shoulders away from your ears. Lift the back knee if you lowered it. And on an exhale, send the left leg to meet the right for downward facing dog. All right, and now before we lighten it up, we're going to fire it up a bit. So inhale for a big breath here. Exhale to gaze toward the space between your palms. Inhale to come forward to high plank pose. Exhale to step the right foot to the outside of your right hand for lizard lunge. Inhale to lift the right arm to the sky for revolved lizard. Exhale to plant the palm inside your right foot. Inhale to step the foot back to plank pose, and we'll take it to the other side. Exhale to step the left foot to the outside of your left hand. Inhale to lift the left arm to the sky. Exhale to plant the left palm inside your left foot. Inhale to step back to plank pose. And continue on your own for just 2 more on each side. Don't rush to finish, but whenever you do finish, you can drop the knees and sink your hips back to your heels for child's pose. We'll slowly make our way out of child's pose and lift the hips to the sky for a downward facing dog. And from there, we'll walk the feet toward the front of the mat for forward fold. And we'll slowly roll all the way up to mountain pose, 1 vertebra at a time. All together, we'll inhale to send the hands to the sky, fingertips kiss in prayer, and exhale to swan dive all the way down to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, release, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise all the way up to standing, hands overhead, slight back bend, gaze up. Exhale, sink the hips back, find chair pose. Inhale, come right back up to standing, hands overhead. Exhale, release the hands to your sides for mountain pose. And we'll repeat this a couple more times. Inhale, send the hands to the sky, fingertips kiss in prayer. Exhale, swan dive all the way down to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, release, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise all the way up to standing, hands overhead, slight back bend, gaze up. Exhale, sink the hips back for chair pose. Inhale, come back up to standing, hands overhead. Exhale, release the hands to your sides for mountain pose. Inhale, send the hands to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, release, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise all the way up to standing, hands overhead. Exhale, sink the hips back for chair. Inhale, come all the way up to standing, hands overhead once more. Exhale, release the hands to your sides for mountain pose. One more time here. Inhale, send the hands to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise all the way up to standing, hands overhead, slight back bend. Exhale, sink the hips back for chair pose and hold it here for a couple of breaths. Settle into your chair pose here. Make sure your tailbone is tucked under. Take a second to look at your feet. If you can't see your toes, sink your hips back just a bit more. And we'll take 3 breaths. On your next inhale, straighten your legs, lift your hands up to the sky, and exhale, mountain pose. Shake your legs out if you need to here. Then find some stillness in mountain. And really find stillness here because we're coming into some balancing poses and you're going to need some stillness. All right, all together, inhale, hands to the sky, and this time come off your heels and onto your toes. And on your exhale, we'll make our way to diver's pose. So keep your legs straight, keep your heels lifted, and slowly hinge forward at your hips while sending your arms back behind you. Gaze is just out in front of your mat. If you fall here, that's totally okay. Just try and have some fun with this and keep breathing. Release your heels for forward fold. On your next inhale, we'll roll all the way up to standing to meet in mountain pose. Bring your hands to prayer at your heart. Lift your right foot off the ground, bending the knee to 90 degrees. And just wrap your hands around your knee here and hold for a couple of breaths. Make sure your tailbone is tucked down and you're forming a straight line from the crown of your head all the way down to your feet. You can squeeze your knee toward your chest for a little glute stretch and a hip flexor massage if that feels nice for you. Now, when you're ready, you're going to keep the left hand on that right knee and twist to your right, sending your right arm to the back of the room. And we'll hold it here for a couple of breaths. If you're feeling brave, you can try sending your gaze toward your right hand. And if you need a bit more of a stretch, you can try straightening your right leg and grabbing your foot. Let's untwist, bringing both hands to the knee at the front of the mat. And from here, we'll find tree pose. Bring the right foot to press against the left thigh. Really squeeze equal force between your foot and your thigh here to keep the body nice and straight. If you need more balance, you can bring the foot a little lower down your leg Just make sure you're not resting your foot on your knee. And then you can play around with your hands to see what works for you. Maybe bring your hands to the sky in a V shape to create some tree branches. Maybe keep your hands in prayer at your heart center. And we'll remain here for 6 deep breaths. Release the foot to the earth. And inhale, lift your hands to the sky, slight back bend, gaze up. And exhale, release, mountain pose. And we'll take it to the other side. Bring your hands to prayer at your heart. And lift your left foot off the ground, bending the knee to 90 degrees. And just wrap your hands around your knee here and hold for a couple of breaths. Again, make sure your tailbone is tucked down so you can form a very straight line from the crown of your head all the way down to your feet. And feel free to squeeze your knee toward your chest a little. Now, when you're ready, you're going to keep your right hand on that left knee and twist to your left, sending your left arm to the back of the room. And hold it here for a couple of breaths. Let's untwist, bringing both hands to the knee at the front of the mat now. And we'll find tree pose on this side. Bring your left foot to press against your right thigh, really squeezing equal force between your foot and your standing leg. And we'll remain here for 6 deep breaths. Release the foot to the earth. Inhale, lift your hands to the sky. And exhale, release for mountain pose and breathe. Before we take it back down to the ground, we'll take some time to work through a nice cleansing breath exercise. So inhale, reach your hands to the sky, slight back bend, gaze up. Exhale to find cactus arms, drawing your elbows down to 90-degree angles and shining your chest to the sky. Inhale, reach your hands all the way back up. And exhale, release your hands to the sides for mountain pose. Again, we'll inhale to take the hands to the sky. Exhale for cactus arms. Inhale to reach back up. And exhale for mountain. Take 3 more of these on your own. And when you're finished, find stillness in mountain pose and bring your hands to prayer at your heart center. Heel toe your feet mat width apart and slowly sink your hips down toward the mat for a yogi squat. You can choose to have some movement here, or you can choose to be still. Slowly drop the sits bones to the mat. Bring the feet in front of you, soles of the feet to the mat, and roll your back all the way down. Make sure your knees are above your ankles. Reach your fingertips toward your heels, but leave an inch or two of space between your fingers and your heels. And push through your heels to lift your hips for bridge pose and hold it here. This is your last strength pose if you want it to be. We're going to hold here for just 5 deep breaths. Slowly lower your hips to the earth and bring your knees to your chest, giving them a little squeeze, rocking a little bit from side to side. Then release the feet back to the earth. And while you're here lying on your back, before we move to Shavasana, take a second to just do a little body scan. Notice any extra areas of tension in your body. Notice any areas with built-up energy, any limbs that are still craving movement. Think through any poses or movements your body is craving. Maybe while you're thinking about what you need right now, remember the intention you set at the beginning of your practice. What final poses could you do to honor your intention today? I'll give you 60 seconds to gift your body what it needs, whether that be movement or stillness, strength or flexibility, before we meet back here in Shavasana. Wherever you are, take a couple of seconds to even it out or finish up your final poses. And come all the way down to your back, legs stretched out long, arms at your sides. Take a couple of seconds to settle in and get comfortable. Release any tension you're holding in your neck, jaw, shoulders, between your eyebrows, and melt down toward the earth. Release your mind from thinking and just focus on your breath, moving your body up and down. As always, I encourage you to stay in Shavasana for a couple of minutes to reap the full benefits of your practice today. Maybe take a second or two to set a timer for yourself and then come back to your Shavasana. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. I hope you feel light and free and ready for an amazing day. Namaste.